Hello Year 12, and welcome to another flip video. Pretty excited about this one actually. This is a very cool bit of biology you're about to learn. So let's get stuck into it. Alright, so the idea today is that we are explaining, which means we need to provide like an effect. You know, what's the effect of having hemoglobin in our body? And why is this an adaptive advantage? That's essentially what this dot point's asking us. It's to explain the adaptive advantage of hemoglobin. So I think that's pretty straightforward. So, firstly we need to kind of talk about why multicellular organisms have a higher oxygen need. So basically, you know, at a single cell level, you can carry out all of life's functions, but we are not single celled, we're multicellular, and so we've got multiple cells to feed. These cells are specialized, some require lots of energy and oxygen and maybe fluid and stuff like they need. They're very peculiar about what needs each type of cell in our body needs. So we've got to be able to kind of give them that. We've got to have the systems to deliver that. Those systems are also made up of cells and also require energy to function. So as we develop in our complexity, which means we can do really cool stuff, we just have this enormous need for oxygen. So most multicellular organisms have had some sort of improvement to their oxygen carrying capacity other than just being dissolved in blood. So let's have a look. So hemoglobin itself, it's a respiratory pigment. We're gonna you've got an assignment coming up, and respiratory pigments are kind of a bit of a theme to that. So it's kind of nice to have this little introduction now. Hemoglobin, it's a protein, and as you can see there are 4 kind of units. These are polypeptide chains, and in the center of each unit, or not in the center, but attached to each unit, is a heme group. This is a heme has its roots in the word iron as well. So, like previous video discussed ferric as a word to mean iron. Well, heme also means iron. And so what we've got here is we've got 4 bonding sites where an iron molecule can bond to an oxygen molecule. So you've got 4 O2s, so that's 8 atoms of oxygen in 4 molecules. Okay? If that makes sense, I think we're good. Alright, so the first advantage, let's have a look at this. So hemoglobin basically just allows us to carry more oxygen in the blood. It increases the carrying capacity. That's the fundamental advantage that you guys need to understand. It's the advantage of being able to carry more oxygen than what blood can normally do, right? So if you were to break down all the oxygen in our body, 98% of it would be carried by hemoglobin, and 2% would be carried in a dissolved form in the plasma, which is a terribly low amount of oxygen. We would not nearly have enough to provide the fuel required for respiration. Right? So you can remember respiration requires glucose and oxygen. So we want to try and untap that the chemical energy inside of glucose, and oxygen is a part of that process. So it's a very, very key part of our metabolism. The second advantage here, and this is like it's just cool, right? So what basically, you know, you've got 4 sites to bond on a hemoglobin molecule, and as soon as oxygen bonds to one of them, the other 3 become far more attractive to 3 other molecules of oxygen. It's kind of like, you know, you start a chain reaction. You know, one molecule binds, and it's like, oh, hey presto, we better fill the rest of that molecule up. And so, I mean, that's kind of represented by this curve. Well, represented by this curve here. We have, you know, if you've got a low saturation of oxygen, that's still okay, because even at low saturation, you've got this curve that kind of goes up, and it's just like, wow, it's pretty awesome. So we like the idea of having a molecule that even under low oxygen saturation, it increases the attractiveness of oxygen to it if just one molecule binds with it, and I think that's really cool. It's a very cool an advantage to have. Alright, so the third advantage, and this is just awesome too, is that, like, how does the hemoglobin know? I mean, it's not like it's got a brain or anything, but how does it know how to deliver oxygen to where it's needed? And the answer comes down to when hemoglobin gets close to carbon dioxide, its affinity to actually release that molecule of oxygen that it's got increases, which is a perfect relationship to have. As you go near muscle tissue, and that muscle tissue has got a lot of carbon dioxide around it because that's what they produce through respiration, the hemoglobin goes, oh, right, well, it's time to release the oxygen. It's a lovely little relationship. Now, if that's not cool, just get out of here, all right? So, look, hemoglobin is pretty awesome. Increasing oxygen carrying capacity is the key part, and this allows us to do far more complex metabolic reactions. Now, you can think of those complex tasks as things like speaking, or thinking, or having a conscience, or a dream, or like these are detecting a whole bunch of stuff. Like these things require oxygen, and so the more oxygen you've got, the more you can do. And so we are at the top of the food chain because we have this awesome, molecule that allows us to do cool, funky stuff. Now, before I finish the video, other multicellular animals have their own respiratory pigments, but they're not like hemoglobin. Like they may only carry 3 or 2. Or like an extra 1, but hemoglobin is badass. It has 4, and it's got that cool relationship with making itself more attractive to other oxygen molecules when 1 has bonded with it, and it's also got that relationship with carbon dioxide, where in the presence of carbon dioxide, it will release that oxygen molecule and pick up that carbon dioxide molecule. So that's a really funky little molecule that it is. Anyway, it's not too often that a molecule can get you excited, but I think that one is a pretty cool one. So hope you've learned something.